Good morning and welcome to Executive Dialogue 5 on mainstreaming energy efficient and low energy cooling appliances to achieve thermal comfort for a billion lives, powered by SIF. At the very outset, I wish to record my sincere thanks to our platinum sponsor Danfoss, gold sponsor The Breathe, and silver sponsors Saint Gobain and Smart Jewels for making Feed possible. I would also like to extend my thanks to our networking and outreach partners, Griha, ISHRAE, RAMA, and the India Smart Grid Forum. Please note that we will keep the floor open for Q&A in the last 10 minutes. So do send in your questions through the chat box on the right side of your screens. So without any further ado, I wish to call upon our expert speaker, Mr. Chirag Baijal, Managing Director, Carrier Aircon, and Chairperson, Alliance for an Energy Efficient Economy, AAA. At UTC, Mr. Baijal is responsible for promoting air conditioning with brands like Carrier, Toshiba Air Conditioning for India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. Mr. Baijal, the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Akash, Namaskar and good morning to everyone. It is indeed important that I appreciate that all of you who are attending this are taking out time for this cause, because this is a cause. This is not just another forum where we are deliberating, as I mentioned yesterday in the opening remarks. If some of you missed it, I would like to reiterate that the reason at AAA we are doing this is because we would like to have concrete outcomes around policy advocacy with the government, forge partnerships and collaborations which have either been there and make them stronger, and making sure that we have more advocates around common citizens or industry experts who take this message to the broader India as we urbanize even more in times to come. For the topic today, I would encourage that we look at this topic in a manner where it's not just about mainstreaming the energy efficient appliances or low energy cooling appliances or solutions. It's more about practices as well. So I'll take about a few minutes and talk about this both from perspective of AAA as well as a little bit about from carrier like Akash introduced. Thermal comfort for a billion lives. Now, this is not just another statement that we will want to reach out or make this as a marketing statement. In India, if we were to look at the importance of this, it is a national imperative because India is actually at a massive risk of suffering unprecedented heat distress on account of warming planet due to climate change. Now, I did speak about this briefly yesterday as well, that climate change, frankly, is all encompassing. It is going to impact every aspect of our life, from policy to livelihood to the way people live and work across the globe. This topic needs to be addressed both from the supply as well as the demand side. And people gathered here have a role to play across the value chain. Topic of thermal comfort is central to India's three international commitments as well, which is important to articulate today. Sustainable development goals. So, for health and well being for all citizens of India, India is a signatory to make sure that we are able to do this. Paris and Glasgow climate commitments. And many of you would have read about the Panchamrit proclamations that our Honorable Prime Minister made some time back. And of course, the Kigali amendments, which were the earlier ones. Achieving thermal comfort is a joint responsibility of the government, people, and the manufacturers of technology, so both refrigerant and non refrigerant, to address thermal comfort. This is where AEEE comes in, and I am so happy that my senior colleague and industry veteran, Mr. Jawa, president of RAMA, is here to moderate this critical session as well. I am looking forward to the signing of the MOU between AEEE and RAMA, which is currently in the works, so that these two industry associations will be able to work together on thermal comfort, cooling, and refrigeration related issues as well. I want to take a minute or two to talk about something that I personally feel very proud of and also believe it is an important milestone in the turning of the leaf for how we do our policy and technology interventions. It is India Cooling Action Plan. Now, this is a forward-looking policy document that has taken a holistic view of the problem and suggested many progressive actions through a set of recommendations. I would really encourage everyone to must make time if you're serious about the cause of the mainstreaming of energy efficient appliances to go through this India Cooling Action Plan. We must look at addressing this problem in entirety so that thermal comfort is possible for everyone, irrespective of their economic condition. As the chair of AEEE Executive Council today, I'm pleased to share that AEEE is working with many partners to enabling the thermal comfort for billion lives. This particular session is a testament to this approach that AEEE is taking by working with industry leaders and industry platforms such as RAMA, ISHRAE, and the companies such as you would see Symphony, Kirloskar, Chillers, and VersaDrive, who all have a big interest in joining forces for this initiative. I also want to touch upon an important area when we look at mainstreaming of energy efficient appliances anywhere across the world, which is in standards and labeling. This is one of the most effective policy mechanisms spearheaded by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. I'm extremely grateful for the leadership that I have witnessed personally in the last about 15 years in the Bureau, having really done India proud and taken and uplifted the standards across, especially the room air conditioners. While recognizing the contributions made by the Standards and Labeling Program, we should also recognize that we need to do more, as noted in the India Cooling Action Plan, and also shown by a global cooling prize that greater efficiencies are still possible and needed if we want to cool our country without blowing up the planet. There are many segments of our industry which do not yet have a standards and labeling program. Now, this prevents us, frankly, as an industry to command respect within and outside India at a global scale. We must accelerate the dialogue and policy on this. Now, the question is, what can industry associations such as AEEE, RAMA, Indian Fan Manufacturers Association, ISHRAE, for example, do to help accomplish the thermal comfort for billion lives? Make India a global competitor of China, let's say, in cooling and refrigeration industry, which is by far way ahead of us so far, and can position itself to reap the full rewards of schemes such as the PLI or any other future incentives provided by the Government of India. Now, this really can allow Indian manufacturers to help fulfill India's ambition to become, let's say, a 1 lakh crore cooling industry. But I would frankly lean on more of India for India, because India itself has so much promise for the next 20 years that even if we were to become good for our citizens, where we can compete and provide knowledge-based, best-in-class solutions, we really will attract exports all by ourselves. What am I expecting out of this session? So, of course, deliberations and hearing the perspectives of industry leaders who are going to speak after me. But this is including and not exhaustive. So I'm sharing a few things that I have in my mind is, of course, how do we have the increasing penetration of variable speed in air conditioning and that we can mainstream? Setting high chilled water temperature, for example, for improved system efficiency for chillers, as much as a very different direction of scrappage policy to define the life cycle of an air conditioner. Lower GST rates for high efficiency products. This actually has been spoken of quite a few in the past, quite a lot of times in the past. And there is a compelling financial reason to talk about this more so now than ever. Solutions that empower to visualize, advise, and optimize the life cycle and the outcomes of the HVAC systems, where we use both artificial intelligence and Internet of Things for prognostics and enhanced system efficiency, for example, and choosing the right solution which is basis weatherproofing and actual needs rather than generic global standards. We all are used to using global standards. The time for future is, imagine calculating custom part load weighting factors and condenser water temperatures based on site specific weather profiles. Now, all of this is the technology and the role of technology. What I want to leave all of you with is that our Honorable Prime Minister has set a goal that we are going to reduce about 1 gigaton carbon emissions in our country by 2030. As one company, which is Carrier Global Corporation, we have a similar goal that we are going to reduce carbon emissions by 1 gigaton by 2030. We have announced that across the world. I look forward to this dialogue around partnership, collaboration, responsibility that we all carry. How do we work on policy and advocacy? How do we actually together have courage to transform the market and overall command respect from stakeholders and government through this? Thank you. Over to you, Akash.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now like to call upon our session chair and executive speakers, starting with the session chair, Mr. Kanwaljeet Jawa, President RAMA. Mr. Jawa is a veteran in the air conditioning industry with 4 decades of rich experience that incorporates creating value for both brands and customers. He recently won the award for being the most promising business leader of Asia by the Times Group. Sir, we're very privileged to have you with us. And your executive speakers this morning, Dr. Mayur Sundararajan, business head, Versa Drives. Dr. Mayur is heading Superfan, the super efficient fan vertical of Versa Drives Private Limited, one of the premier motor control solution providers in the country. He is keen on realizing Superfan's vision of super energy efficient thermal comfort being available to the common Indian man. Shri Amitabh Sur, National President, ISHRAE. Mr. Amitabh Sur is a specialist in industrial ventilation and fume extraction systems. Sir, welcome. Shri Falgun Shah, CEO Symphony Limited. Mr. Shah has been associated with Symphony for more than 17 years and has played a key role in designing and testing the evaporative air coolers appliance. He has more than 35 years of rich experience in HVAC technology, automation, and the technology manufacturing industry. He has been awarded the Dr. Homi Bhabha Award for Best Performance at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center in 1986. So it's a privilege to have you. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Gaurang Dabholkar, VP Sales, Ratch Up Private Limited. Mr. Dabholkar has been with Kirloskar Chillers for the last 18 years and is presently responsible for sales and marketing for their domestic and international business. He has been associated with ISHRAE as an office bearer in the Pune chapter. Gentlemen, I leave you to your session chair and I wish you an interesting and meaningful executive dialogue. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Akash, and thank you, my friend, Mr. Chirag Baijal, who has set the tone so well. I'd also like to add my word of warm welcome to all the distinguished panelists, and also good morning, everyone, every participant. Welcome to the Executive Dialogue 5. The topic for the session today is mainstreaming energy efficient and low energy cooling appliances to achieve thermal comfort for billion lives. I also have a pleasure to share with you, Chirag, that we are very pleased that from Rama side we are going to sign the agreement primarily because the vision is common, with you sitting on the other side, I'm sitting on the RAMA side. I think the whole idea is that how do we take this drive which has been set by the top leadership together at a country level, at industry level. Most of the world leaders and also Indian leaders in air conditioning and refrigeration are part of either AE or RAMA, and the idea is to take it together to a next level. My dear participants, India today finds its place at a very decisive position, at a very clear inflection point. Some of you may have seen the budget speech yesterday, and even today morning headlines also says that India is just ready for the new growth and new transformation. So that the opportunity lying is ahead of all of us. We can see all the factors coming together, be it economic climate, be it physical climate, or the business climate. The readiness of the country today provides all of us with the unprecedented opportunity to expand ourselves. This has just been demonstrated by the kind of V-shaped recovery of Indian economy after the two very, very tough years of COVID impact. Today, most of the indicators are back, be it all-time highest GST collection or GDP growth or FDIs coming to the country or increasing the consumer spending and also infrastructure investment, etc., etc. I am not going to deviate from the topic. All of you are very learned people sitting here. I'm only trying to show that the industry towards support on the policies and schemes formulation leading to making India the manufacturing hub for big boosts. Many initiatives have been taken in the past, and various initiatives are on the way, which are providing huge impetus to the economy, making the coming decade as decade of manufacturing for India. And in this situation, our responsibility becomes much larger, much bigger on environmental concerns. The fight against the climate change continues to be the topmost priority of the industry as well as the government. The evolution and expansion of India's building stock has critical role to play in its battle against climate change. Like Carrier has made the commitments, most of the company, my own company, Daikin has made many commitments. We at RAMA platform have set our targets for climate change, accounting for more than 40% of the country's total energy consumption. Energy use from building is increasing at 8% annually. If conventional, inefficient building practices continue, buildings would account for over 70% of emission by 2050, thus posing a major threat to India's green ambition. And this provides a good reason for India to become the first countries to come out with a comprehensive and ambitious India Cooling Action Plan. At present, the Government of India bestows various opportunities such as Atmanirbhar Bharat Initiative, standard and labeling programs, PLI schemes, etc., that could enable self-reliance in the field of supply chain and local manufacturing, leading consumers to increased access of affordable and energy efficient appliances. As we all know, that our Honorable Prime Minister announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan with a stimulus package of worth 15% of the GDP. And Niti Aayog and DPIT or Invest India are leading the mission. Subsequently, the schemes like PLI, Gati Shakti were announced to give a boost to the India manufacturing sector. Under the PLI scheme, 13 industries were identified as sunrise sectors, and recently the scheme was announced for air conditioning sector, where the support to the extent of INR over 50 billion was granted for setting up AC related components manufacturing facility in India. Another initiative taken by the Government of India is the Quality Control Order in order to regularize the substandard products being locally produced as well as imported from other countries. This is again one of the important steps towards helping the industry to meet the requirement of energy efficiencies and other related manufacturing processes as per Indian standards. My dear friends, India has also demonstrated the capability to super high ISER air conditioners through the recently concluded global cooling prices, where India competed with the other companies in the world to solve the critical climate threat that comes from growing demand for residential air conditioning. By harnessing the power of innovation, the industry can provide cooling solutions that enhance people's lives without contributing to runaway climate change. Similarly, the Indian Cooling Action Plan was launched in March 2019 by the Ministry of Environment with the support of industry associations like AE, RAMA, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The India Cooling Action Plan provides a 20 years perspective and outlines actions needed to provide access to sustainable cooling. The industry is happy to work closely with the government, with the manufacturers, who are not the members, also primarily because the objective is to work together to common mission to make this 20 years plan. One more initiative being discussed by the industry that I'd like to highlight here is to have some replacement model for inefficient old air conditioners which do not fall under any star labeling in the current scenario. There is a huge market potential to replace such air conditioners with the current 5-star air conditioners, boosting the energy efficiency and decreasing the load on the grid. The green construction sector in India currently lacks the technical expertise to execute projects and funding to pay for construction. These remains again the big barriers to building green and require an entrepreneurial regulatory approach. In short, India's growth has to be green, be it on small appliances like fans, or on coolers, or on air conditioners, or on large chillers. Also, it is important to mention that India's GDP is projected to rise over $406 billion by 2050. More than 43 million jobs will be created as the Asia's third largest economy leaps towards a net zero target. Mentioning about net zero, we all know that our Prime Minister announced the net zero target in recently concluded COP26 as a part of 5 goals by our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, which are achieving net zero by 2070, reducing total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons starting now till 2030, increasing renewable energy component to 50% of our total energy requirement by 2030, reducing carbon intensity by 45% by 2030, also increasing non-fossil energy capacity to reach 500 gigawatt by 2030. Some of the industry members have also given the commitment to achieve the net zero by 2050. Now with this, I would like to introduce the experts and leaving the floor open for discussion and sharing their respective sectors. Because of the paucity of time, we have been able to take only the four speakers, one from the variable drives, which is head of business head of Warsaw Drive, and he's Mr. Mayur Sundararajan. My colleague already has introduced him. The questions to him will be that how can fans manufacturer increase the penetration of SAE fans in India, strategy for bringing down the cost, enabling penetration of SAE fans in manufacturing, also in the communities of India. So over to you, Mayur, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to AEEE for this opportunity, and we are very glad to be part of this great initiative. And let's jump into the discussion. Here, I'll first briefly talk about the place of fans in this discussion, and also where energy efficiency is in fans right now, and then I'll answer the questions that were posed by Mr. Jawa. The place of fans in this discussion is purely based on the number of fans that are in our grid and its simplicity, and that's like a go-to thermal comfort appliance for Indians. There are about 40 to 50 crore fans in India. That's really high, for a population that's about 130 crores. And it's estimated that the fans create an electricity demand of about 15,000 megawatts at least. One of the problems with the fan industry is there is no good data. All these numbers I'm talking about it's just many people talk about these numbers in a rough way. And one of the big things is the number of fans sold in a year. If you ask anybody in the industry, they will say something like it's between 4 to 6 crores. So that's one of the big problems in the industry. Anyway, so that's the place of fans in this discussion. And in terms of energy efficiency, fans have been without any innovation for a long time, till say we came into the picture in 2012. There was no significant innovation. So in 2012, we developed a Indian fan, a fan that will cater to the Indian application using brushless DC motor. So that was our part in this. And then because at that time there were no takers for the technology, we released it in our own brand name called Superfan. And that kind of initiated this energy efficiency revolution in the fan industry. It is still now dominated by large legacy brands like Crompton, Orient, and Havells, and so on. So right now, where energy efficiency is in fans is these fans have become kind of accepted by the market. It is kind of very well known in the market, people know about it, but there are obstacles for its market penetration. The main point being the high price. This costs about twice as a regular fan. That kind of prevents the market to opt it as the go-to choice, even though there are very good features in it and it is superior to a regular fan, but the 2 times price is kind of one of the obstacles to penetration. And even when these large brands got into this segment, their price is also relatively like that. I would say 1.5 times. And there is a problem there. If these large manufacturers offer this at the same price as a regular fan or close to it, they are bound to lose their more profitable segment. So there is a internal conflict there. And another obstacle is these large brands are not manufacturers. They're all only brands. So they depend on somebody else for innovation and also manufacturing. So right now they are all like satisfying the market by imports or getting it from getting the technology from somewhere and so on. And there is like Mr. Chirag and Mr. Jawa talked about like how standards and labeling has been very successful in air conditioners. In fans, it hasn't been mandatory till now. It was supposed to have happened in 2020. It has been postponed to 2022 June. Hopefully this time it would happen without any further postponement, but it has never happened. And even there, the standards have a lot of loopholes. It's easy to circumvent certain things and so on. The standards are not strong enough. And for some reason, BE has not been able to enforce those things with the Indian Fan Manufacturer Association. They have always been like controlled in a way by whatever Indian Fan Manufacturer Association wants. And another thing is, like, these standards are borrowed from elsewhere. Like, Indian fans are different from fans that are used elsewhere in the world, and these measurement methods and standards have to be aligned with what is needed for us. So these kind of like weaker policies, weaker standards, and then lack of technology in the with the large players and lack of incentive to cannibalize their own models are kind of the obstacles for penetration. There are certain things that can fix it in variable levels. Quick fixes are simple, like pass the mandatory standards and labeling this year. So that will kind of take care of a first level step. And once that mandatory standards and labeling are employed, there must be a process to do check testing, so that this will force the manufacturers to adhere to these standards and labeling. So that has been missing, and right now we don't see any processes set up to do that. And the long-term fixes are like a lot of suggestions that has already been discussed, something like giving tax breaks for the super efficient fans. And another thing that I highlighted, which is aligning these standards and efficient measures with the national goals, like say ICAP or other goals that has been set in COP26 and other various international avenues where the required energy savings have been set. And another thing that would help it very much is policymakers being independent in collecting and validating data. Right now, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency or Bureau of Indian Standards are depending on the manufacturers to give data on the products and innovation. And this gives, and they just get the data, and the validation is also dependent on the manufacturers. This prevents the government to enforce whatever they need rather than what the manufacturers need. So there is a gap there. So the policymakers have to become independent. And another thing is we have to look for Indian solution. In LEDs, like we lost that Indian market. Like now there are not many big LED manufacturers in India, but in fans, till right now, 99% of the market is Indian market. If we don't protect that, like soon, like we would lose some to foreign brands in fans also. So that's something that policymakers have to take into account. And these are the highlights that I wanted to share. I'll pass on to the next person.
Mayur, I'm sure platform like this can take you to appropriate authority, and we already have a very, very good example here. Air conditioner, also residential air conditioners were in a similar situation, but I think we has done a great job there. And last 6 years, 4 times standards have been upgraded, and today the residential air conditioners are at par with international standards. So I think with AE and RAMA help, and already this established, case study, I'm sure that I will request AE to take this note of your issues, and we take you
Sure,
to
sir.
the appropriate authority.
Sure, sir.
Now I
And
will
also
move
connect with
to
you later. Sure.
yes. I will now move to Mr. Amitabh Soor because he has been associated with ISHRAE, which is the largest members of engineering association of Indian Society of Heating Refrigeration. My question to you is that what do you think are the big two challenges that RAC industry faces in accelerating the MEPs for room air conditioners? Or is there any issue with non-availability of cost-effective, high-quality, new energy-saving components? I know that the ecosystem in India was not ready, and government of India is working together with Rama to create the ecosystem, but which are crucial from your angle so that we can also take it up to the appropriate authority accordingly. The whole idea is to create an eco-component system from 25% present to 75% in the next couple of years. So over to Mr. Sood, please.
Thank you, Jawa sir, and good afternoon and namaskar, everybody. Achieving thermal comfort for a billion lives. I think what a mission this is. This is really to be, driven deep and wide because it's a very, very kind of it's a responsibility. It's a noble, it's a cause that we are working for. Now, as my previous speakers have highlighted about the requirement of manufacturing super energy efficient machines, and also at the same time making them affordable. I think the challenge which the industry faces also comes from lack of awareness from consumers. The government has played its part and has been constantly playing
I think you dropped out, Mr. Soor.
Yeah, we lost him.
Yeah. So maybe some internet issues. So can we move to the next speaker, Mr. Falgun Shah, please?
You'll have to unmute yourself, Falgun sir.
Am I?
Yes,
Yeah,
now you're audible.
yeah. Mr. Shah is the CEO of Symphony Coolers, which is the largest company. Mr. Shah, what is the kind of market transformation that we are looking at in evaporative air coolers in India, since you are the leading player? And also, what is the role of development and adoption of standards of MEPs for evaporator air coolers that will allow for the consumer to get quality evaporative air coolers at large, let's say on the shop floors and stuff like that, or where you have masses.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, okay. So, getting aligned to the very questions which Kanwaljeet ji has asked. So, obviously, when India is in line with whatever has been discussed, India is looking for becoming globally a number three economy. So, obviously, it will be good to be aligned with the policies and standards also of the developed economies, especially when we talk about the evaporative air coolers that Symphony is pioneer and leader in. There are a few challenges which must be met with by way of appropriate standardization and some policies. When we talk about the standardization, India right now AEEE has taken an initiative with ISHRAE and BE and BIS to define the standard, and the main important thing will be to define energy efficiency, which will be a key parameter, by which you can distinguish any cooler versus any other cooler. So probably that is something which will be very important for end customer to know, to make a correct choice rather than making a choice based sheerly upon the advertisement campaigns of different brands. So that will be one very important step once it comes through and gets into action. Another important thing is when we align to the topic, which is thermal comfort for a billion lives. Why does this billion live come from? There are about 5 to 10%, which are the white collars, like all of us. Whether we work from comfort of our homes or we work from air conditioned or nicely comfortable offices. However, mass majority of the population is either working on agricultural fields or is working in factories and in warehouses and other applications where the thermal comfort is really not up to the standard. And that is where the policies come into picture, because the people who work and the people who actually take decisions for capex over that workplaces are different set of people. When we talk about thermal comfort, it obviously leads to discussions like heat stress, the related absenteeism, the related productivity, the quality loss, and everything. And when Honorable Prime Minister is given the goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, and now the new budget talks about climate action and energy. All these things. It becomes very much important that there are policies which are aligned for thermal comfort to the working masses, which could be a mixture of different things like air conditioning, air cooling, fans, as and when it is permitted by the workplace. So basically, these two important points I just wanted to highlight. And due to paucity of time, probably these are the 2 points which gets aligned to the questions, Kanwaljeet ji.
Okay, I think one is creating awareness. If I understood correctly, one is creating greater awareness, and second is maybe working together with air conditioning and air cooling.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shah. Now, if Mr. Soor, I don't know whether he can come again if its internet connection is okay. Mr. Soor, would you like to come? Yeah, if Srishti, can you check with Mr. Soor? Okay, I think still there is some technology issue. These are the glitches, when you are actually having a virtual. And this is what, when we started the session, Tarun was saying that, sometime why it is better to have physical meetings. Anyway, my next speaker is the head of chiller sales from Kirloskar, which is one of the oldest engineering giant, Mr. Gaurang Dabholkar. Mr. Dabholkar, now we are going on the other end, that how can we actually ratcheting up chiller energy efficiency levels, like,
Right.
PRV we have initiated, and also increased lifespan for reducing energy consumption of building level, because a lot of old chillers are still existing, which are energy guzzler, and now you have magnetic technology, you have centrifugal technology, and a lot of new developments have come in this field. And also the role of low GWP and ODP refrigerant. Like in residential air conditioner, I remember that, a couple of years back, the manufacturers took the lead and they moved to low GWP refrigerant and ODP refrigerant in improving the efficiency of chillers, especially when the growth is happening so much on the pharma and also on the health sector. So what kind of challenges you face, if you have to say that, two challenges you would like to give it to AE or RAMA, how can we help you on that, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Java, and thank you all the other speakers for setting the tone. We all know that the HVAC system is the largest contributor to the energy footprint of any air-conditioned building, and centrally air-conditioned plants, of which chillers form an integral part, are one of the large energy consumers in any centrally air-conditioned application, whether it's hotel or hospital or public spaces like airports and government offices, or special applications like IT parks or data centers, or even in the industrial segment, pharma, textile, FMCG, power generation, and so on. And the chiller is the single largest component which contributes to the energy. Along with the chillers, the associated equipment like the pumps and cooling towers. And apart from the energy consumption, the chillers also contribute to the global warming from the point of view of usage of refrigerants which are having a GWP. So, from a chiller perspective, to paraphrase a popular saying, with great power consumption comes great responsibility. So, the chiller industry has an onus to do its fair bit to mitigate its impact on the earth. So, while to address what you asked me, it's a common practice to look outward, to look at government agencies and regulatory bodies to help implement initiatives. But there's a lot which the industry itself can do, looking inward and to achieve the goals which we are looking for. So one aspect is applying energy efficient technologies. There's no dearth of these technologies available in the market. We talk about low energy compression technologies, so that includes magnetic bearings or ceramic bearings. Rolling out variable frequency drives for all applications. This is a no-brainer. It's a very easily doable thing, using multi-stage compression, using economizers to improve the efficiency of the chillers, and the use of permanent magnet motors over usual induction motors. Apart from the compression technologies, the other aspect is heat transfer. Moving from DX chillers to flooded chillers to falling film technologies, hybrid technologies, the use of we use air-cooled chillers where there's a shortage of water, but the power impact is high. So use of adiabatic cooling to mitigate that increased energy requirement. And a lot of our stress is on new equipment, but I'd like to say that once the equipment is installed, ensuring that it runs optimally. So water quality plays an important role. Automatic tube cleaning systems are available now to address this in order to keep a plant running at its optimum peak efficiencies all through its life cycle. Variable pumping systems for the water system. Data acquisition can help, and the use of IoT can help keep a plant running at its optimum from the predictive, proactive point of view, and optimizing with chiller plant managers and so on. Apart from manufacturers, the other obviously most important stakeholder is the customer or the end user himself. So it's often tempting to procure traditional solutions or older technologies with lower capital investments. But it's up to us, and it's up to progressive user organizations to opt for newer technologies and take suitably informed decisions based on the life cycle of the chiller plant or equipment. And that makes economic sense because it translates into OPEX savings in spite of the higher initial investment. Another aspect which we seem to be overlooking is, and esteemed speakers spoke about it before, that there is a focus on installing new and efficient equipment, but there is a population of thousands and thousands of old chillers, like somebody mentioned air conditioners. Similarly, there are old chillers running for 15 to 20 years, and these merit our attention on priority, either for replacement or upgrading them to meet currently acceptable efficiency norms. ESCOs with their performance contracting offerings have a major role to play. Apart from the energy efficiency, another aspect which we talked about is the GWP reduction. We are no longer concerned about ODP, but GWP is a major fact. So the use of low GWP refrigerants, these have been available, but in a non-mandatory scenario, very few early adopters. It's mainly multinationals who are towing their global policy line and opting for this control of leakages. We see very few plant rooms with using refrigerant chillers having monitoring of leakage in the plant room, and attention to disposal, whether it's refrigerants or oils which are being disposed. We need little more attention on this. Coming to the other aspect, this was all internal from the government or regulatory bodies. I think we need to accelerate the rollout of the star labeling program. It has been around for unitary products for a considerable amount of time, but it's high time that it was, we keep pushing the date, and it's high time that that was made mandatory. Incentivizing the use of star label products, for the end users to opt for higher efficiency products. There need to be incentives. Another aspect which all our attention is again on commercial buildings, IT parks or office buildings or mixed use developments. But there are a lot of our investments are coming in the form of industrial growth. So we don't see a large enough number of factories, whether it's pharma or any other segment, really adopting the green factory mode of certification. So that's something which needs to be enforced, and a statutory or regulatory move towards the use of low GWP reference instead of having it voluntary. Refrigerant availability, HFOs are not manufactured in India, so either and the price gap makes it quite prohibitive for so even somebody who wants to use it. It's about 5 times the price of HFC 134A, a commonly used HFO refrigerant. So either subsidies or promoting the development, local development, indigenous development. Lastly, coming to the use of indigenous products, even the ECBC program awards points for localized or local procurement. So this is something, there are guidelines under the public procurement policy or DPIIT for local procurements, and I think the private industry also needs to look at that for its procurements, try and procure local as far as possible. To conclude, for all initiatives to succeed, especially like the initiative we were presently talking about, it needs to make economic sense. While altruistic motives can be one of the reasons for being responsible about the environment, it's far more likely that these initiatives will succeed if they make economic sense and are economically sustainable. They need to make money for all the stakeholders in the value chain. So whether it's manufacturers or contracting companies or HVAC consultants or ESCOs or lead auditors, whatever. And this is not a contradiction in terms. It's not at cross purposes with the aim of the exercise. The savings accruing out of adopting, installing, maintaining energy efficient equipment is actually paying for all these stakeholders to do business. So that's something. And so with that, I'd like to I'll conclude my list of ideas. I'm thankful to AEEE and all the speakers for making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurang. I think these are very, very important points you said. One is the technology, including AI, IoT. I think it's very, very important. VFDs you have touched about. You also touched about PM, permanent magnet motor, and heat transfer, and also refrigerant. I think this is something which already associations are working on it. But yes, I think the important point which you touched was that progressive users operation and also or organizations, and also maybe creating awareness with the right people at the right place. All these are very, very important. Controls of leakage, also the unless the mandatory requirement comes, somehow in this country things don't move. So I think the industry and the progressive organizations like yours and also some of the multinationals have to work together on this with these kind of platform, and this is what exactly was the objective. So I request the secretary to note down all your points, and maybe we can have an offline meeting also on this, and we take it up. So although time you have taken is little more, but I think these were very, very important. So I really thank you for that.
Thank you.
So Mr. Soor, are you available now? If you have maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We missed
Sorry, I got disconnected and I never realized that. So
no, it's okay. It's not your
I
fault.
was actually trying to bring the focus. See, I think all the speakers have spoken a lot about what we need to do in terms of kind of manufacturing more energy efficient systems, and kind of having our focus on the drive that we are continuing with. What I would like to say is, yes, definitely these are all required. Along with this, also we need to kind of skill our engineers. So that is where I think ISHRAE has taken the role of kind of skilling and reskilling our field engineers so that they understand that so they can actually deliver the fruit to the consumer. Because it's important to kind of buy and install an energy efficient system, but it's also important to kind of maintain it efficiently for years to come. We are talking of a lifespan. I think now on the lifespan part also, I would like to touch upon maybe I think maybe the regularity should think of bringing in some kind of regulation in terms of what could be a lifespan of air conditioner, because we have seen that there are many users who have been using age-old technology air conditioners, even though today the benefits of energy efficient machines and technologies are available. So these are the areas we would like to, as an organization, responsible organization for driving energy efficiency within our member base and the industry at large. We would like to kind of increase the awareness of these things, and also, of course, bringing in a stronger collaboration with the industry, with the government, so that the common goals can be met. Our mission is same. We have to achieve this, and therefore we have to come to the same platform, discuss and thrash out our issues, and come to a kind of agree to a kind of a common path for moving ahead, which should be done. Which also we are working with our collaboration with RAMA, with AEEE, and with other organizations, and our deliberations at government is there, but it needs to be strengthened. It needs to be a joint effort instead of being, a kind of independent effort. So I would leave at that, because paucity of time. Jawa sir, you can take this forward from here.
No, I think thank you for wrapping it up. And this is what I was actually thinking to talk, that skilling. You have touched a very, very important point, since you have, you cover such large length and breadth. So I think one of the issue which has come from all the speaker is creating awareness. So I think, and also through this skilling, large force what you have of your membership, this can go. I really appreciate all the comments from the other eminent speaker. So I try and wrap up in next 1 minute, because we have only one. What is important is, I think, how do we approach the right people? We have some successful examples like residential air conditioners I can talk about, where I said that 2012, the energy labeling standard started. And then inverterization started, and today we talk about ISHRAE 5.8, ISHRAE 6, or global cooling price winners from India. So I think what is important is, how do we approach the right people, and how do we approach with the right intent? Idea is, again, the government is very receptive. The agencies are today looking at, be it Niti Aayog, be it Invest India, be it DPIT, or be it BE, where they have done a fantastic job. Again, Ministry of Power, or even the DGFT on refrigerant. I think if we take this appliances case, which is now taken as a sunrise industry, and it is getting attention from the Prime Minister office itself, or the Commerce Minister office itself, or the Finance Minister itself. So I believe strongly that all the association, along with the industry leaders which have come together today on this platform, should work together with the respective governments, and show them the positivity that, this industry of room air conditioner, we actually showed them that, this has a potential to grow 10 times more, probably 1 lakh crores industry, also probably employment generation of additional 350,000 people. So right message, Individually, you can only break barriers which Mr. Falgun Shah has created, in the Symphony cooler segment, or the experts from fans have spoken, or Kirloskar has been leading. I think, but collectively we can create a new horizon. That is what is my message. So collaborative efforts through cooperation, competition to cooperation, working as one country first, company individual second, and then we take it our own interest. I think we have to take that mission, and that will play an important role in making this whole program very successful. Individually, companies have declared their own missions, visions. Associations have created their own missions. But I think if we have to, India has to achieve the net zero targets much before the timeline has have been laid. The only message is that work together, grow together, and together we succeed, and together we win. Thank you very much. I will stop here, and now maybe if time permits, Srishti, you can take questions, or maybe offline you can respond on the mail, because a lot of questions are already there in the chat box. So I leave it on to you, Akash, now how you want to take it
Yes.
up. Thank you
All
very
right.
much once again, and thank you, AE, thank you, ISHRAE, thank you, speakers, for your very active participation. And we take it, your points. I would request AE to take this forward with the respective authorities. We are definitely going to send you the action plan, what we are going to take. That is what I'm on behalf of AE I'm talking on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I wish to thank the session chair, Mr. Java, and all our esteemed panelists for taking time this morning and sharing your thoughts with us. And I'm sure our audience is enthused, which is evidenced by the number of questions that are sort of pouring in, but we are pressed for time. So I will ask just one question, and this is specifically directed to Falgun. Sir, would you please share your brief views on the application potential of hybrid cooling systems, which is a combination of VCR and evaporative cooling, sir? Very briefly, in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so this is a good question. So basically, see, every cooling technique has its own zone of optimal performance, and it is through a combination of cooling techniques, that the thermal comfort can be achieved at different locations and in different applications. So in most of the applications, direct evaporative cooling is obviously quite feasible and is enough. However, in cases where there is adequate water supply available, as well as there is more humidity, there is a possibility of hybrid solution, which could be indirect cooling or refrigerated cooling combined with evaporative air cooling, and it could be metered in an appropriate way to provide the hybrid comfort.
Thank you,
I
sir.
hope.
Thank you for
Yes.
summarizing your views so succinctly. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the session chair and the speakers for this executive dialogue, and also to our conference delegates for tuning in. I hope you found the discourse both engaging and exciting, and I hope that you will stay on with us here at Feed for the rest of the day. Please feel free to visit the exhibition zone and utilize the networking opportunities between sessions during the breaks. I wish all of you a very happy and fruitful conference. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.